Have you ever stopped to think that the most dangerous food for your health might not be at a fast food restaurant, but right there inside your refrigerator? And that this food, which seems so harmless, could be silently increasing your risk of cancer without you even noticing. According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, cancer is currently the second leading cause of death among adults over the age of 65 in the United States. It's estimated that more than 60% of all new cancer cases occur in older adults, and each year, over 1.9 million Americans receive a cancer diagnosis. According to the National Cancer Institute, these numbers are alarming, but what's even more concerning is that many risk factors are directly linked to our lifestyle, including the foods we store at home. Now picture this. You open your fridge and grab that forgotten piece of cheese, the jar of sauce that's been there for months, or the eggs kept in the door. Everything looks perfectly normal, but behind that appearance may be a hidden threat. Could it be that the very food you think is safe is little by little putting your health at risk? That's exactly what we're going to talk about today. We'll reveal the top hidden villains found in the refrigerators of millions of Americans, explain how they increase the risk of cancer and other serious diseases, and show you safe alternatives, so you can keep enjoying your food without fear. But before we dive in, I have a quick invitation for you. Tell us in the comments where you're watching this video from. We love seeing how far our community has reached. And don't forget to subscribe to the Age with Strength channel for more simple, practical, and powerful tips on health and longevity. And of course, an important reminder, this video is for educational purposes only and does not replace medical advice or nutritional guidance. Always consult your doctor or a healthcare professional before making changes to your diet or routine. Now, let's open up the fridge and find out what might be hiding inside. You might be surprised by what you discover. When we think about refrigerators, the first thing that comes to mind is safety. After all, we've been taught from a young age that cold preserves food, that putting something in the fridge means it won't spoil. But the truth is, it's not that simple. The cold environment may slow down spoilage, but it doesn't stop certain invisible enemies from multiplying. Researchers at the United States Department of Agriculture, USDA, warn that many bacteria don't die in cold temperatures. They simply go dormant, waiting for the right conditions to grow. That means a food that looks perfectly fine might actually be harboring toxins or microorganisms that, once consumed, pose a direct threat to your health. Another important point is that modern refrigerators are far from being evenly cold. Every time you open the door, the internal temperature shifts drastically. Foods that are more exposed suffer the most from these constant changes. This back and forth creates the perfect environment for harmful microorganisms to thrive, such as salmonella, listeria, and even mold that can release cancer-causing substances. And the people most affected by these risks are older adults. The immune system, which naturally weakens with age, doesn't respond the way it used to when we were younger. This means that foodborne infections or exposure to toxins can have much more serious effects on people over 60. What might be a mild passing discomfort for a younger person can turn into a serious infection. Factor to chronic illnesses, like cancer in a senior, that's why blindly trusting the cold of the fridge can be a silent mistake. It's not enough to store food, it's essential to know how to store it, for how long, and under what conditions. And that's exactly what we're going to start revealing now. Which foods hiding in your refrigerator are the most dangerous, and how they could be threatening your health. 3. Yellowed cheese and invisible mold. Few foods seem as harmless as a piece of cheese sitting in the fridge. For many people, it's a symbol of convenience, flavor, and even family tradition. But the truth is, when poorly stored, cheese can turn into a breeding ground for invisible threats. You've probably opened your fridge and found that yellowed piece of cheese with some mold spots on the surface. The most common reaction is to scrape off the spoiled part and eat the rest. However, experts at the Food and Drug Administration, FDA, warn that this habit can be dangerous. What we see on the surface is just the tip of the problem. In soft cheeses that aren't properly aged, mold can penetrate deep inside and release substances called mycotoxins, compounds linked in studies to liver damage, immune suppression, and even cancer development. It's important to note that not all mold is harmful. Blue cheeses like Gorgonzola and Roquefort, or varieties like brie and camembert, are made with specific, controlled fungi that are safe to consume. These are known as beneficial molds, used in traditional cheesemaking for centuries. The problem lies with the molds that grow spontaneously on regular cheeses, often because they were left open too long, poorly sealed, or simply forgotten in the fridge. These uncontrolled molds can produce highly toxic substances. For older adults, the risk is even higher. As the body becomes less efficient at processing toxins with age, exposure to mycotoxins can lead to serious consequences in a shorter amount of time. On top of that, chronic conditions common after the age of 60, like high blood pressure, diabetes, and kidney problems, make the body even more vulnerable. That's why institutions like the USDA, Food Safety and Inspection Service, are clear. In their guidance, soft cheeses with mold should be discarded immediately. In the case of hard cheeses, like Parmesan or cheddar, the mold can be safely removed by cutting at least 1 inch around and beneath the affected area. But when in doubt, the golden rule is simple. If it looks suspicious, don't take the risk. After all, no piece of cheese is worth putting your health on the line. Eggs stored in the fridge door, an invisible risk among the most common foods. In American refrigerators, eggs hold a special place. They're versatile, high in protein, and a staple in millions of households. But how you store them could be the difference between a safe food and a hidden threat. Many people still keep eggs in the fridge door, using those built-in compartments that seem perfectly designed for them. But this habit could actually put your health at risk. Every time the door opens, the internal temperature fluctuates, and since eggs are stored right in that area, they're constantly exposed to temperature swings. This instability encourages the survival and even the growth of harmful microorganisms like Salmonella, a bacteria associated with serious foodborne illness. According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, Salmonella is responsible for about 1.35 million infections each year in the United States, leading to over 26,000 hospitalizations and around 420 deaths annually. While anyone can be infected, seniors are among the most vulnerable. That's because the immune system becomes less efficient with age, increasing the risk of the infection developing into serious complications like severe dehydration, sepsis, and even organ failure. Another little-known fact is that, although an eggshell seems strong and solid, it's actually porous. This means that if not stored properly, microorganisms can penetrate the shell and contaminate the inside. That's why storing eggs in the fridge door, where temperature fluctuates the most, creates the perfect conditions for these bacteria to sneak in. Fortunately, the solution is simple. Always store your eggs on an internal shelf in the refrigerator, ideally in their original cardboard carton. This container helps protect them from moisture, prevents cracking, and keeps the temperature more stable. Another key recommendation from the USDA is to never wash eggs before refrigerating them, as the shell has a natural protective coating that helps block bacteria. Eggs should only be washed. It's also worth checking the expiration date on the packaging. Even if the eggs look fine, they could still be contaminated. A simple home trick is the water test. Place the egg in a glass of water. If it sinks and stays at the bottom, it's fresh. If it floats, that's a sign it's no longer safe and should be thrown away. These precautions may seem small, but they make all the difference for those who want to age healthily and avoid unnecessary risks. After all, something as simple as where you store your eggs could mean the difference between a nutritious meal and a hospital visit. Expired, condiments, and forgotten sauce. Sith. There's one type of food that tends to silently accumulate in American refrigerators. It's condiments. Ketchup, mustard, mayonnaise, salad dressings, barbecue sauce, pickles, and even those Asian sauces we use once and forget about in the back of the shelf. For many people, they seem almost immortal, as if they never go bad. But the reality is very different. Over time, these products go through chemical changes that can produce dangerous compounds. One example is nitrosamines chemicals that can form from preservatives like nitrites, which are found in some sauces and processed meats. Research from the National Cancer Institute has shown that continuous exposure to these substances is linked to an increased risk of certain types of cancer, especially those in the digestive tract. In addition, the oxidation of oils and fats found in mayonnaise, creamy dressings, and processed condiments can generate free radicals, unstable molecules that damage our cells and promote mutations. This process becomes even more harmful when an older adult is already dealing with chronic conditions like high blood pressure, diabetes, or high cholesterol, since the body becomes less capable of handling a buildup of toxins. Another risk comes from bacteria and mold that are invisible to the naked eye. Opened and forgotten condiments can become a breeding ground for harmful microorganisms like listeria, monocytogenes, which can survive even in cold refrigerator temperatures and cause serious infections in seniors. What makes this danger even more deceptive is the common habit of forgetting jars for months. How many times have you opened the fridge and found a bottle of salad dressing that expired long ago but still looks fine? Many people go ahead and use it anyway, believing that the cold prevented anything harmful. But what seems safe could actually be full of toxins or bacteria. The good news is that there are simple steps to avoid this problem. Always write down the date you opened a product and follow the storage time frame on the label. Most condiments should be consumed within 30 days after opening, even if the printed expiration date is still months away. Another tip is to organize your fridge so older jars are placed in front, making sure they don't get lost in the back. Checking your fridge once a week is a powerful habit. This simple routine can help prevent serious food poisoning and, more importantly, reduce your exposure to substances that over time can compromise your health. After all, what seems like just a forgotten jar could actually be a silent threat to your well-being. Poorly stored rice leftovers, the forgotten toxin few, foods are as common on the American table as rice. It's affordable, nutritious, and versatile, showing up in everything from simple meals to more elaborate dishes. But what most people don't know is that poorly stored rice leftovers can become a hidden danger, especially for those over the age of 60. The main culprit is a bacterium called Bacillus cereus, which is naturally found in the environment and can survive the cooking process. That means even after rice is prepared at high temperatures, the spores of this bacterium can remain intact. If the rice is left at room temperature for too long or improperly stored in the fridge, those spores wake up and start producing highly harmful toxins. These toxins aren't destroyed even when the rice is reheated. In other words, that leftover meal that seems safe after a few minutes in the microwave could still be carrying substances capable of causing food poisoning. The most common symptoms include nausea, vomiting, and diarrhea. In younger people, these symptoms usually pass quickly, but in older adults, the consequences can be much more serious. According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, people over 65 are significantly more likely to be hospitalized due to foodborne illnesses. That's because an aging body struggles more with dehydration and the loss of electrolytes, common outcomes of severe diarrhea. Pre-existing conditions, such as kidney or heart disease, can also worsen rapidly. The good news is, preventing this risk is simple. Cooked rice should be cooled as quickly as possible, ideally within 2 hours after preparation. It should be stored in clean, shallow containers so that the cold from the fridge can reach all parts of the food evenly. The best practice is to consume it within 3 to 4 days. After that, the risk of contamination increases significantly. Many older adults, saving leftover rice is a way to avoid waste and make meal prep easier. But in this case, extra caution is essential. Discarding a portion that looks fine may feel wasteful, but remember, no food is worth the risk of serious food poisoning. Rice, such a staple at our tables, can continue to be a safe and convenient ally as long as it's stored with care. Small changes in your routine can protect you and your family from an invisible but potentially dangerous threat. Old plastics and BPA in your food storing food in plastic containers is a very common habit in American kitchens. They're lightweight, inexpensive, and easy to stack. But few people realize that these containers, especially when they're old, scratched, or low quality, can pose a silent risk to your health. The problem lies in substances like BPA, bisphenol A, and phthalates, chemicals used to make plastic stronger and more flexible. Several studies, including research supported by the National Institute of Environmental Health Sciences, NIEHS, show that BPA can leach from plastic into food, especially when the container is heated, used over long periods, or shows signs of where these chemicals act as endocrine disruptors, meaning they mimic hormones in the body and confuse the hormonal system. Chronic exposure has been linked to a higher risk of breast and prostate cancer, as well as metabolic issues like type 2 diabetes, obesity, and even altered heart function. For older adults, this threat is especially concerning. The body naturally loses some of its detoxifying and cellular repair abilities with age, increasing vulnerability to the effects of external chemical exposure. On top of that, many seniors heat their meals directly in plastic containers in the microwave, significantly raising the risk of contamination. The good news is that there are safe and affordable alternatives. Glass and stainless steel containers are durable, hygienic, and completely BPA-free. Today, there are also plastics labeled BPA-free, but they should still be used with caution. Avoid high heat, and replace them when they become scratched or worn. One small detail that makes a big difference: never use old plastic containers that have changed color or smell. That's a sign the material is breaking down and more likely to release toxins. Whenever possible, get in the habit of storing your food in glass containers. Not only do they better protect your health, they also help preserve the flavor and quality of your meals. After all, what seems like just an ordinary container may be slowly releasing invisible substances that build up in your body and contribute to serious illnesses. Choosing the right way to store your food is a simple yet powerful step toward protecting your long-term health. Processed meats in the fridge, hot dogs, ham, and cold cuts. Few foods are as convenient as deli meats and processed items. A slice of ham in a sandwich, a few pieces of salami, or a quick hot dog for dinner might seem like simple solutions for everyday meals. But what many don't realize is that these foods, even when kept in the fridge, carry serious risks, especially for those over. The World Health Organization, who has classified processed meats, such as hot dogs, ham, bacon, and salami, as carcinogenic to humans. This means there's strong scientific evidence linking frequent consumption of these products to an increased risk of colorectal cancer. Studies published by the National Cancer Institute confirm this connection and also suggest that regular intake of processed meats may be associated with a higher incidence of stomach and pancreatic cancer. The danger lies in the chemical additives used to preserve these foods, such as nitrites and nitrates. Once inside the body, these compounds can convert into nitrosamines, substances that are recognized carcinogens. On top of that, the smoking or frying process used for some of these products produces additional compounds that damage cells and promote genetic mutations. It's important to remember that refrigeration doesn't eliminate the risk. It simply slows down spoilage. The chemical compounds have been there since the product was manufactured. For older adults who already face a naturally higher risk of cancer and tend to have a more fragile immune system, these foods represent an even greater threat. Now, that doesn't mean you can never enjoy a ham sandwich or a hot dog at a family cookout again. The key is moderation and, more importantly, smart substitutions. Instead of processed deli meats, go for fresh, home-cooked options like shredded chicken breast, slices of roasted turkey, or even grilled vegetables as sandwich fillings. These alternatives are not only healthier, but they also provide real nutrition without the load of preservatives and harmful additives. This isn't just about dieting. It's about actively preventing silent diseases that affect millions of people every year. Small changes, like cutting down on processed meats, can make a big difference in your long-term health and quality of life. After learning about so many hidden risks that might be lurking in your fridge, you might be wondering, how can you protect yourself without giving up the foods you love? The good news is that the answer lies in small, practical actions anyone can take. No major lifestyle overhaul required. The first step is to organize your fridge strategically. More sensitive products like eggs, dairy, and leftovers should always be stored on the inner shelves, where the temperature is more stable. Avoid using the door to store items that spoil easily, since the temperature there constantly fluctuates. This simple shift already helps reduce bacterial growth and indirectly lowers the risk of chronic inflammation. A known contributor to cell mutations linked to cancer, another key step is respecting expiration dates. Many older adults, whether out of habit or a desire to avoid waste, tend to keep food past its recommended date, believing that refrigeration will somehow keep it safe. But science says otherwise. Your fridge slows down spoilage. It doesn't. Stop it. Over time, expired condiments and contaminated cheeses can produce mycotoxins and nitrosamines, compounds linked to a higher risk of digestive cancers, as shown in studies from the National Cancer Institute. A simple way to protect yourself from this silent threat is to write the opening date on every jar when it comes to leftovers like rice, meats, or soups. The best practice is to cool them quickly and store them in shallow containers so the cold can reach all areas of the food evenly. Never leave cooked food at room temperature for more than 2 hours. That's more than enough time for harmful bacteria to begin multiplying and releasing toxins. For seniors who are more vulnerable to inflammation and immune challenges, repeated exposure to these toxins may lead to cellular changes that increase cancer risk. It's also essential to pay attention to the containers you use. Choose glass containers or BPA-free plastic. The National Institute of Environmental Health Sciences has already warned about the link between BPA, commonly released by old plastic, and an increased risk of breast and prostate cancer. Swapping out an old container for a safer one might seem like a small change, but it's a powerful choice for protecting your health. And finally, make it a habit to check your fridge once a week. Toss out anything that's expired, looks off, or smells suspicious. Remember, tossing questionable food isn't wasteful. It's taking care of your life. These simple steps don't just lower your risk of foodborne illness, they also reduce your exposure to substances that are quietly linked to different types of cancer. By adopting this routine, you turn your refrigerator into a true ally of longevity. Instead of a storage space for invisible threats, did you know there are hundreds of natural solutions proven, safe, and within your reach to help relieve pain, regulate blood pressure, improve sleep, digestion, and even support diabetes control in a complementary way? If you're looking for a smarter, more natural, and effective way to take care of your health, then you need to check out the Natural Healing Guide. This complete ebook brings together the best of natural medicine, herbs, essential oils, supplements, home remedies for blood pressure, cholesterol, anxiety, pain, skin conditions, and much more. And the best part, it offers clear, safe, and practical guidance, even if you're just getting started. You'll find the link in the first pinned comment below this video. Don't miss out. Now, I want you to stop and think for a moment. How many times have you opened your fridge without ever imagining that something seemingly harmless could slowly be undermining your health? The truth is, some of the greatest dangers come without warning. They're silent, hiding in an expired jar of mayo, a moldy slice of cheese, an old plastic container releasing invisible toxins, or a pack of cold cuts that looks totally normal. The National Cancer Institute estimates that up to 40% of cancer cases could be prevented through lifestyle changes, including safer food choices. That means every small decision about what you store and consume at home can make a real difference in your risk. It's no exaggeration to say that your refrigerator can be either an ally or a silent enemy. But the good news is, you have the power to change that story. This isn't about extreme diets or giving up your favorite foods. It's about awareness, mindfulness, and smart choices. Replacing processed deli meats with fresh, home-cooked options, using glass containers instead of old, plastic ones, throwing out that expired sauce without guilt because protecting your health is worth far more than saving a few cents. Each of these small actions is an investment in something priceless: your life, your independence, your ability to keep taking care of yourself and those you love. Because cancer doesn't happen overnight, it builds slowly through years of small, accumulated oversights. And that's exactly where you can step in, breaking the cycle with conscious, simple, and realistic choices. As we wrap up this video, here's a special invitation for you. Open your fridge today. Look at every shelf, every jar, every bottle. Ask yourself, is this food here to nourish me or to harm me? That one question could be the start of a powerful transformation. And remember, you're not alone on this journey. We're here to support you, guide you, and walk with you every step of the way. Your life is worth far more than one bad habit. Now, I want to hear from you. Which of these hidden dangers have you already found in your fridge? And what changes are you ready to make starting today? Share your experience in the comments. It might inspire someone else who's also trying to live a longer, healthier life. See you in the next video. Take care of yourself. Your health is your